Welcome to Timebolt Office Hours on September 11th, 2025. You're live with Doug and Quinton. We're here to answer your questions, check your workflows, and generally just make sure that you get the best out of Timebolt. Eric, how you doing?
Good. How's it going, guys?
We're just kind of going through a workflow of taking one long video and breaking it up into a bunch of smaller chaptered videos. One of these is a patient video, how this preview is working. We got to flip one of these things. How can we help you? Do you have any specific questions today?
I've been out of the editing game for a little while, but I bought Timebolt way back when it was a lifetime deal. I'm just trying to dial in the workflow. So we use Riverside to record about a 20-minute recording yesterday at my full-time gig. And then just using the editor instead of Riverside, I burned maybe like 3 hours trying to figure it out, and I'm still just losing my mind over it. So I'm just coming back to Premiere like I always do. But I want to utilize Timebolt in the workflow. So I just wanted to hop on here and see if you guys could just walk me through really quick. I'd be happy to share my screen.
It's a great use case. If you could just share your screen, once you get your Riverside recording made, do you do your camera switching live inside of Riverside? Where do you switch your cameras at?
So I was researching the workflow yesterday. I'm gonna do that with a multicam sequence inside of Premiere. You can do the editing and switch the cameras back and forth in Riverside, but I'm done trying to learn any additional online editor outside of anything besides Premiere and Timebolt at this point. Like I need speed, I need efficiency, I need reliability. So that's like my main. And then so what you do in Riverside is you can download like a full 16:9 video file for each participant inside of Riverside. So I can do like the cutting back and forth however I want. I've got separate audio files for each person. They're in neighboring offices, both with their doors closed. So I've got nice clean audio for both participants and like an individual video files. I did create the multicam sequence. So this is pretty much where I could have looked some stuff up and try to continue, but
Timebolt will come in the picture before this process. But the idea is essentially that, so Riverside, I think Riverside gives you if you have two speakers, it gives you like two different files, right? One video, one audio for each speaker. So essentially what you're going to do is you want to take those two files, pull them into Premiere, and then set up your timeline. And then the next process would be to use Timebolt to cut up the timeline, and then you make the multicam. So the multicam is essentially going to be the last step that you do. It's not going to be in the middle. It's going to be the last one. Timebolt comes before the multicam. So that's what the video talks about. Essentially
what I did was, since these are like the same length,
they're going to be the same length. They're going to start at the same time.
Essentially, so what I was thinking is like I wanted to make cuts to cut out like silences and filler words, but I didn't want to do it manually. I wanted to use Timebolt to automate some of that.
Correct.
Or all of it. So I was thinking I needed one like combined
audio file,
like a multicam sequence first.
That's exactly what happens in the video. You will need to use the Timebolt extension for Premiere Pro.
Okay, I did install that this morning.
So you're all set. One thing I would recommend is I noticed that the audio on the second file is really very low. That would be a problem.
So in Riverside, they have a magic audio thing where it just like enhances the audio.
Anything to fix that would work. They should technically be on the same level so that there's no back and forth.
Can I do that after the fact in Premiere Pro, or do I need to do that natively?
You can do it after the fact. You can just raise the volume. I think you can raise the volume here. There's the bar over there in the A2 section, like A2 bar.
Okay, this is the multicam timeline. This is the multicam sequence. Do I not want to mess with this? No, okay.
No, just create a new one. Just create a new sequence, and then you can just raise the volume on the other one to like roughly match.
So these are two cameras and two audio mics from Riverside.
Right. Correct. The next step basically is to export the audio. You can export that as a WAV file, or you can export the video too, but I don't think you need the video to edit it, because all you want to do is make the cuts, right? So if you just want to make the cuts, all you need is the audio.
Just MP3. Does it need to be a certain quality or no?
I usually recommend WAV file just because it's lossless, but MP3 works fine too.
Is there any sync required before exporting this audio?
Yes, it is. But as he's using Riverside, it doesn't matter because they both start at the same time.
Okay.
Also, audio export is way faster than video export, so it saves a bunch of time.
When you're talking about bringing Timebolt into the workflow?
I'm talking about the exporting, just like raw power.
Oh, just in general?
Just in general. You can open Timebolt, just drop the MP3 file in there. There are other ways to do this too. For example, using the XML sequence. I think you can there is like a blog post on that, which you can check out later, but this is like the easiest way to do it. Yeah, you can just click on update. It's already downloaded. It'll just do it quickly. I just drop the MP3 in there.
Process would be bring it into the files into Premiere Pro, create a sequence, layer them. If we're just talking about a Riverside workflow, layer those files one on top of each other inside of export the audio from that sequence, then take that audio file, open it up in Timebolt.
Let's just go through the file. Can you just swipe and like see if the cuts are okay? I mean, I think they're fine. You can just change them later if you want. It's not.
They're looking good. Do you want to just give them a real quick rundown? When you do this, Eric, it is going to be faster for you to cut up your entire timeline inside Timebolt, before exporting, okay, with making these cuts. What I would recommend, there's a video on our website, the keys USOB. Those are the key. You just learn those four keys, and you're going to put your preview playback rate at 1.5x. So anytime you hit the space bar in Timebolt, you're previewing at 1.5x speed, and you're going to U unwinds, S creates a split, O turns the existing scene off, and B back cuts. B is a very important key because you don't even have to stop the playhead. If you didn't like what you just heard, you hit it and it skipped to the next scene. You just hit B and it back cuts the scene, and you don't even stop the playhead. So it's not like you're highlighting things like words and all that stuff, but just understanding how to Ginsu up a timeline is absolutely worth your time with Timebolt. So you see that preview playback rate, put that at 1.5x. Now that your cuts are all made, the one thing that you're going to do, after your automations are run like this with your dead air, you're going to hit that. You're going to run check for, if you're checking for unscripted video, which sounds like this is, hit that. So let's see. Do you have any? See if you got any. Here, hit start. Let's see if you got any.
It's a long video, right? It'll take
22 minutes.
I think it's already used once. Anyway, I don't think we need to get through that right now. We'll just
minimum 23 transcript. Oh, so you might have already used your credits. What you'll do is you'll purchase additional check credits. And this is one of those things where our Umcheck catches 50% more filler than the competition. Because we layer waveform cuts with the transcript tokens and then rechunk and run our own logic, we wipe the floor with what Descript and any of these other AI edit by transcript editors can do. So this is well worth the money. It's not cutting off you middle of sentences. I just played a video about 10 minutes ago that showed the difference between all like Timebolt, Loom, and Descript and what running the automations look like. It's not even a contest. And if you want to hit, I don't know, like important shows here, hit stop share first, just as you pay. And then afterwards, if you would, just make sure to reshare it.
And will this show in the min or whatever, will it show as Timebolt or?
Timebolt. It'll come as Timebolt.
I'm interested to see what you react. I'm sure you've tried some of these, like Riverside has their own remove dead air checker.
It's just, I use it in Riverside. That's part of the frustration. And then the other part of the frustration is like when you have your files from the recording and then you hit edit, it takes you into the editor. But every time it takes you into the editor, it creates a new edit. And then there's an edits tab that you have to go under to see the previous edits that you worked on, which I wasn't aware of. Every time I would go out and back into the edit, they were gone. I'm like, what is happening right now? Nice. So it's just frustrating. Like, yes, technology is great and all these tools are fantastic, but it's kind of like drag and drop website builders, like beyond a dime a dozen at this point. But it's just like every single one of them has a learning curve. Like, I just want something that works, that's reliable, that's fast, that's easy, and I could just be productive and crank work out. I'm a one-man technology, media, marketing monster at this company, so I need to be as efficient as humanly possible. So
create the cuts. I think we should go over that. It'll be really helpful.
If we change the cuts, right? It's gonna.
So just click outside so that the box goes away. I think I did see something at the start of the file. Can you just scroll to the start of the file a little bit? I think around 20 seconds. I think around 20. This one over here. Oh, 30 seconds over there in the middle. There's like a piece that's cut off. So that piece, right, that probably a little to the left. This piece probably should be in the video, right? It's in red right now. Technically, it should be in the video. So usually what people do is they increase the padding left and right. What you actually need to change to fix this is you have to change the decibel value. If you go to scroll down, there's a value called filter below sound level. Make more negative to capture more audio. So you want to capture more audio in this situation because it's actually capturing less. Make it more negative, which means you'll increase the value to like 38, 39, 40 in that range. Usually the best range is between 35 to 42. That's usually the best range. And then once you change the value, you can click on update sound detection. There's a button up below that. If you scroll a little further down, there's a button called update sound detection. So what that does is basically it uses the new value to recalculate the cuts.
Everything else is good. All the other parameters.
Everything else seems pretty good. Sometimes you can change the left and right padding, but it's more of an artistic choice at that point. Once you understand how it works, you can play around with that. 0.01 left padding is really good if you have like good, strong starts to sentences. And that's because the jump cut is very good if it starts really strong. And then the right padding is 0.15 because of the trailing S's and the trailing words that sometimes people have where they kind of like trail off at the end. So it's better to have that a little higher. So if you scroll back up and see the cuts, I'm pretty sure the gap has been filled up.
Oh, it's right
see
here.
That? You can play around with filter below sound level value. There is the hint there, make more negative to capture more audio. So if you want more audio, you want to capture more, just make it more negative, increase the value. So there's a hint.
That's confusing.
Negative. It's minus V. I didn't want to write the whole negative word in there.
Not confusing at all.
There's also another question mark next to it, by the way. You can click on that if you want. It's a whole video.
Oh, perfect, man. You nailed it.
More help. Didn't get it the first time. I think this is completely fixed. If you check the cuts, I'm pretty sure the cuts, if you just scroll through, the cuts are pretty.
Just looking to see if there's any waveforms inside of the red.
If there's any item that you think that should be in the video, but the algorithm sort of missed, and catch it. Usually, if you usually have great audio, and by great audio, the dead silence is like completely dead silence. There's no humming in the background, which usually if you're making a professional video, you do have. Any value between -35 to -42 is usually the best. Otherwise, if you have to play around with it a little bit more, the video doesn't have good audio. And you probably should like do some mastering or something of that sort to make it better. But usually this is the case. You're going to get the cuts, -35 to -42. The next step that we're going to do is we're going to use the extension to apply these cuts.
We have to run.
The Umcheck. We can start the audio transcription. It should be done in about like 2 to 3 minutes. It's a 20-minute file, so I think it's 2 minutes for every 10 minutes of video, or I think 1 minute for every 10, something in that range.
What it does right here, it's ripping off an audio-only MP3 and sending it up and getting the token-based transcripts. And these are the transcripts that all the AI editors use. These are the most expensive transcripts money can buy, the most accurate. But how those transcripts are then applied with our waveform cut technique, that's where the secret sauce. It's just like GPS, right? Like AI is not going to replace the accuracy of a GPS signal. It's a physical thing, and the same is true with the waveform. So once this is done, this page right here will change over, and it'll give you the options. It'll automatically push into Timebolt, but just to also give you the options to download an SRT file, download it as a TXT file, so you have the transcripts. But those typically aren't very useful until you've already got a finished product, finished timeline.
Can I ask what AI model you guys use for transcription? I'm just curious.
It's AWS. We just use the SOT AWS model. We don't really have our own. It's kind of super expensive to build.
I'm a huge AI nerd. Have you guys used Whisperflow before? Whisperflow, it's an app. It's like if here, I'll just show you guys really quick.
Oh, Whisperflow is a different thing. It's not Whisper.
Yeah, like if I go to, I don't know if it'll work if I'm here, but
it's not Whisper by OpenAI.
Whisper model. But do you see like this little bubble down here? Click to start dictating. It's probably pretty small.
Like, is this like voice notes?
So similar, but what it does is how Whisperflow works is that you hold the function key down on any text input on your computer. I'm using AI all day, like every day for everything that I do. So I'm like, and I'm a fast typer already, and I started using Whisperflow like not even a week ago, and I've already noticed like I can work so much faster. And like if they have an iOS app, like you can use it on your computer. So I'll just give you guys like a quick demo here. Sorry. In this text input here in Google, I can just say, hanging out with the guys at Timebolt right now. We're doing a live stream on Zoom, or not a live stream, but we're recording this live. We're just walking through a quick tutorial, and we're working in Timebolt and Premiere Pro, and these guys are awesome. And check out this input from Whisperflow. So it gets all like the capitalization right, which is amazing. It puts it in like proper sentence case. So what it does, it's recording your input, and then it's transcribing it, and then they have like their own, like they use Llama in the cloud. They send it up to Llama, and then it comes down like formatted, all nice and pretty, and it's just like a massive time saver. It's so good.
Oh, what about like special words? My only gripe with a lot of these models is that they don't do like the special words, right? Like if I'm playing a game which is like has a difficult name to it, and I want to like find a walkthrough or something.
Yeah, they have so this is the app that comes down with it. You can, anytime it makes a mistake with what I'm saying, you can add a new word to the dictionary. And then I usually just do it as a correct misspelling, and then I'll put the misspelled word here and then put the correct word here. And like seriously, game changer. I'll send you guys a link. You guys can get a free month. I had heard about this thing for months, and I'm like, I don't know. But then I tried it. I'm like, I cannot live without this thing. Like this is just because I'm like I said, I'm already productive and fast, and I can type like a maniac, but like I've got a tennis elbow on my right elbow. It gets strained really bad from typing, especially when I'm like using my phone and typing. And the amount that I use like Gemini and Perplexity and ChatGPT is just like,
and that's so because it's formatted correctly, and you could copy paste it, type it in, or it's the formatting.
It's so good. All the big like YouTubers, like the tech YouTubers, they're always mentioning Whisperflow too. There's Super Whisper, which is a little bit more technical, and then there's Whisperflow, is a little bit more user friendly. They're a VC backed company. I think they're based out of San Francisco, but like I said, I'll send you guys a link. It's superb. Like I can't talk about it. But anyway, all right. So all right, back to I got to reciprocate, right? You guys are bringing the value to me, so I got to hook you guys up. All right, so we were in Timebolt, or no, we were in Umcheck.
It's in the app. It's probably ready. Just go into the app.
Oh, okay. So go back to the
app.
app.
Should be just done.
Oh,
what
sorry,
it does is
sorry, one question. In Premiere Pro, like one thing I noticed when in the transcripts of Premiere Pro, it doesn't include the filler words inside of Premiere Pro. So even if you try to like do a search and replace like for the filler words, you can't.
Yeah, you can't.
Stupid.
Anyway. This is going to change your life. Make sure you hit run false start detection right here.
Okay.
Hey, and can you are an AI guy, right? Quinton, you mind if I show him real quick before we go into the previous video that I just showed?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a good video.
Okay. I recorded one video at the same time, 3 different platforms, exact same video, and run only the automations. the remove dead air, and remove filler words. So only the automations are run. These are the 3 different platforms. You've heard the pitch 1,000 times. AI edits your video in minutes. But here's the problem with Loom, Descript, and most so-called AI editors. They promise to cut the boring parts, but if it butchers the meaning, it's worse than doing nothing. And that's already annoying. You've heard the pitch 1,000 times. And AI edits your video in minutes. Yeah, but here's the problem with Loom, Descript, and most AI editors. So like, they promise to cut the boring parts, and but if it butchers the meaning, it's worse than doing nothing. Yeah,
That's horrific.
And that's already annoying. Okay.
Loom. That money-hungry corporate Atlassian.
$1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is really. You've heard the pitch 1,000 times.
My word.
And AI edits your video in minutes.
AI.
But here's the problem with Loom, Descript, and most so-called AI editors.
What was that?
To cut the boring parts, but if it butchers the meaning, oh.
That's what's so frustrating about
Shit.
these tools. They promise like efficiencies, but they just ruin your life and they just steal.
Yeah,
they steal from you. Like if you're wasting my time, you're stealing my life. And
that is the state of today's $1 billion, $100 million funded companies versus a bootstrap startup that utilizes a entirely different way to cut, and AI is an enhancement, not as the core piece. So now we can go to your Umcheck. So now you can see, like, when you spread that out over an hour's worth of video, going back,
Again, share screen.
It'll take you 2 to 3 hours to fix all these bad cuts just to simply get to a polished video in these AI editors, and you're not going to have that problem.
There's lots of buzz in.
Look at that.
Can you like scroll down in the?
Nice.
Yeah, that's.
You're really going to save some money here, or save some time.
I like the bright orange.
What's unique about Timebolt's Umcheck, besides accuracy, is that you can add any unique word, tick, or phrase. So it comes pre-populated with all the most important stuff. But if somebody has, like I said in that video, I type that in, and you can it'll go in and find those particular words. That's why I did that segment in there. So if you have any modifications to this, or somebody has a unique word tick, you type it in up top.
What about name, like misspelling of name?
You can't. You're not able to change anything because it's not. Okay. It's not supposed to be like an SRT caption thing. It's just you're just supposed to like find the words you don't want and just remove them from the video. That's the point. It's supposed to be really fast. You click the start transcription, start audio transcription. You get the transcript. You see all the regular words and just turn them off. That's the whole point of this. It's not supposed to be edited. And
if you want to, just remember you can download the Umcheck JSON. That way, if you had to reopen this file, but typically what happens is like once you run the automations, you just save the main timeline because all these cuts are saved anyway. You just can't go back in and modify it, but you won't need to. You don't. Check's not something you really need to go back in and modify, right? Okay. So once you hit turn off selected words, now you're going to see once you turn off these selected words, you can see now we've got, see the output, see that line, output shorter by 6 minutes, 55 seconds. Okay. The time you go from 115 words per minute to now a time bolted words per minute of 152. And you're probably saved about 10 to 15% of your timeline simply by removing the ums and ahs. Yes, accurately. So now when you place your cursor in the timeline, filler is removed, most of it, like I'd say like 70, 75%, but it's also not inaccurate filler, like where you're cutting off your half of a sentence or, oh, I didn't know that was a sentence there. And if you want to see what you're cutting only, this is kind of interesting. You might want to do this just for a client or something to say, hey, how much work you put. If you go scroll up a little bit, oh wait, no, right here. Go hit flip timeline. See that little, right there. Damn. Go ahead and click that. Now, what this does is this shows you just only what you cut. So you could literally go render, go ahead and place your cursor in the green part and play.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
No one else can, like, you can, sometimes to make these, I'll do it to where, imagine this, like how many ums and ahs did somebody say? You can say, hey, ignore all the silences. Then when you just cut with Umcheck, flips it into where it's just, you don't even have the dead air in there.
And then you can make somebody look real stupid with this.
Yeah.
And then you could export this and then like sync it to the video.
You could hit render right
just
now.
Export the video.
Yeah.
You can blackmail people with this video.
Yeah. You could hit render. Cool. So you go back to flip timeline, and then I'll let Quinton take it back over to get you.
One of the cool things about Timebolt is that the transcription and the sound detection, like the first step where you make the cuts and the second step that is Umcheck, these are like completely independent steps. So you don't have to do both of them. You can do only one of them. You can do only the two. So you can like choose which actually go with, or you can just mash them up together as we just did. Now we want to essentially take these cuts and then apply them to your Premiere Pro timeline, right? So we go ahead and export a JSON file. So the way we do that is you go to the bottom and you just hit the JSON button. I think it's over there. Just hit that button and you get a file, which you then will drop into or select from the extension in Premiere Pro. Before you do that, you have to select both these files in your timeline. So just do a Control A or Command A, select both those files, and then apply the JSON file. I think it's already downloaded in the same location where your MP3 was.
Brought me right to where I needed to go. All right, cool.
So now what it's going to do is this is the only time when it takes a while. And the problem is we can't really fix any of this because it's just like Premiere Pro's API, which takes a while to give you the cuts, which I don't understand why it takes so long. But once this is done, what we'll do is I believe we'll convert them to a sequence and then join them together in the multicam file. And then what we'll do is you can then do the switching. So the only part of this that you have to do manually is the camera switching. That's the only part that you have to manually.
As this is going, just to reiterate, you've got learning how the USOB keys work, right? Learning how to Ginsu up your timeline so that you're only exporting the stuff that you need and you're only doing the camera switching. I promise you, it's not because it's just our software. It will take you less time to Ginsu up no matter how fast you are in Premiere Pro inside Timebolt. Because as you can see, when you click a key, it like skips over the silence and it goes to the next one. In that process, because you're going to watch your video through that first time to understand like what you're going to keep, you can also add things like chapter markers. These are custom chapters. You may not want to have AI bust out 30 different chapters. It might be something a little more custom, but you can right click inside Timebolt. When you're in Timebolt, type in custom chapter markers and then export those. So if you go up in anywhere and just like go in one of those green sections and right click, and you just
add a chapter anywhere.
You just type in a chapter name. Just type in this is chapter 1, test chapter 1, and then go just down a little bit further and do test chapter 2 so you can see how it works. There you go. So now what you can do is imagine your timeline's entirely cut up now. Go down to the bottom and where it says where those little 3 dots are, like that, and then hit download chapters text file. And now if you click that text file, right, you can actually click that file like right there. Click on the UI. It's faster that way.
Cool. I didn't realize that. That's cool.
Double click that and there it is. It's formatted just to copy and paste right into the description of YouTube.
Heck. And it knows to just link because of the timestamp.
Correct.
And just so you also know is that this is also the exact way that you're able to take one long video like you would have maybe with Riverside and chop it down. Now you couldn't do XML like this, but that's how you would chop it down into multiple chapters. So you could actually have one long video and call the chapters like they're like topics, and you hit export chapters folder and it'll export all those videos as individual topics, all with the silences and stuff cut out.
But you do it all in Timebolt and you do it manually. You just right click, add a chapter anywhere in the timeline inside of Timebolt. It's just a fully manual process, which is fine because you don't want AI.
You're just going through it first time. And the same with like punch values and stuff. If you're doing video inside Timebolt, you can do punch in and like show different parts of the screen with the P key, right? It's a lot different than doing keyframes and stuff like that. And then on top of that, you can also send like things like banger video messages as well. If you have to do like quick links, and it's a full Swiss Army knife of workfloes once you get into it.
Is that it?
Yep.
I think we can open Premiere Pro and see they finished with the cuts.
Oh yeah.
It's still going.
Oh, it's still going.
Is it really?
Oh, it does. It does file by file.
It does like the track by track.
This is still just like, I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how long it takes as long as it does it.
It's like like rendering, for example, like you learn like, okay, I just get to this point and I can go, hey, eat lunch. Right. I just get to this point and I go do something else. Right. Yep. It does break things up a little bit. We're always trying to prevent that, but
we try to make it faster, but like messing with Premiere Pro is like beyond our control. We can't do anything about that.
I could see where it takes a little bit. Is it the same with video as well, Quinton? I guess it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. It is a video, right? It's just the JSON file applied to a video. Also, I think because we did like the cuts are like really tiny. Some of the cuts are really fine. So
can you go back to Timebolt and see if would it have made sense to rechunk existing cuts or no? Because he has
no, it doesn't. It already does that as a default.
If you were like going in and splitting timelines and stuff like that, there's like a third button after Umcheck. There's a merge consecutive cuts, and that cuts down on the number of cuts if you're doing like fine tuning. Not sure. I'm also not sure. Do you make like personal video? Like, do you just like use video for like communications purposes, stuff like that? Like instead of like writing saying a 5-paragraph email or something, you want to give some creative feedback. We've got a best-in-class screen recorder that you may not be aware of, but right there on the left-hand side with Timebolt is you can record 4K, native 4K. You can right there. If you click on that, you can record native 4K, you can do center crop, you can actually do live camera switching. So once you start recording, if you like had multiple camera angles, you'd want to allow all this stuff in system settings. But
Very cool.
you can record as high quality, quick quality. So if you got to record a quick video message as opposed to like getting on a Zoom or something like that, you're going to record a 30 megabit size file, not 300 megs, and be able to email it or send it through what we call our banger technology, which just allows you to send an unlisted link, but doesn't suck to watch. That's all built into Timebolt already.
Start to do some videos. So screen with camera would be ideal for that. Camera only for just like talking head.
You'll probably like with screen with camera. What's nice about that, you'll actually have a thumbnail that shows up, and you're able to resize that thumbnail to something really small, or click a button and it goes full screen. So you can switch between full screen and small thumbnail, and you control on the back end like what happens by when you talk. So if you're talking and you're explaining something on the screen, you keep your thumbnail low, and then if you want to accentuate a point, you stop talking, click the full screen button and start talking again. And when you go to edit it in Timebolt, because it skips silence, it's just like you switch scenes to be able to go in and out without having to stop or pause recording.
I'll definitely mess with that for sure.
What's the process after it does get built?
To nest the clips, and then there's only like one step left. Once this is done, we nest the clips and convert it to a multicam.
Do you have to nest and then you do have to nest and then create a multicam from the nest?
Yeah.
Okay. Because you're doing it from the sequence, not from the source
Correct.
files in the project.
Don't nest the audio. You just nest the video clips, because you want to keep the cuts from the audio so that like I have a reference when you change the cameras. You switch the cameras. Yeah.
And if you nest them all, that's all hidden and you can't.
It's all gone. Like you don't know where the cuts are anymore.
And then you have to reference the original sequence that the nested sequence was nested from.
Correct.
Right.
So we just like nest, we unlink the files and just nest the video tracks. Control A, unlink, and then
just select the video clips and then
nest. And then once they're nested, you right click on the video track, and then there's a multicam option, and then enable the multicam option.
And when you're playing the multicam back, because you're creating the multicam from just the video clips, are you able to hear as well as watch as you're
yes, because the audio track is on the same track, right? So you have the audio track at the bottom, so it does play through.
The nest, it's the multicam sequence is there, but then you can see the audio tracks below it, still with the cuts. Got it.
Correct.
Still, again, this is taking a while, but still, I would much rather deal with this than
it will take way longer
else.
if you do it by hand. Waiting for 5 minutes, or like spending 3 hours just doing it manually by hand.
I don't want to withdraw from my effort bank if I don't have to.
You'd probably be on your 25th by now. Only 200 more to go.
And it's so tedious because you got to find the right spot to like take the filler word out. It's just like so much effort, so little reward. It doesn't match.
Looks
done.
Done.
Zoom into the start. Let's just zoom in first, see everything is.
I would say like hitting like recognized as a number one agent under 40 with Remix of Southeast Michigan based on the transaction side. It's not just something that like I did it myself. Teamwork. I emphasize all the time the importance of.
All right, cool. I'm happy.
You're not gonna get all the but it's 75%, 80%.
I feel like one of the speakers has like a really slow start. So you would guy over there, he has like a really slow start. So I think the left padding needs to be like wider. You need to like include a little bit more of the left padding, just because the speaker, like, because if you only use the 0.01 if you have like a punchy start, and I don't think this has a punchy start.
Teamwork. I emphasize
like,
all the time.
Some of the starting words are getting cut off if you like.
The importance of having a support
because his like has a slow start. He's like starting really slowly.
The best results.
So to fix this, what you need to do is in time, so the left padding being 0.01, you probably need to increase it like 0.03 or 0.05, close to that range. You can do it whenever you get time if you want to do it again.
Yeah, this would be a time to apply your Umcheck.
Yes, but this is particularly for this speaker, simply because he has like a really wind up start to like.
So the padding you think should be what?
Yeah.
Either
about 0.05, 3, 5. You can test it. It doesn't have to be like a hard rule. Usually, like if you're doing like a jump cut video where the person is like really enthusiastic and has like a really punchy start, 0.01 is like the best value. But if you have like a wind up or a slow start, you can play around with like a higher value, 0.05. You can even go 0.1. I sometimes use 0.1 because I also have that wind up when I speak. So it depends on the person.
Okay.
And that's why you want to get these automations run first before you Ginsu up your timeline, because if you were to change this and you can't change it once because it'll just erase all your cuts, right? So once you hit update silence detection, you'll then go back in and reapply it's just like a rinse and repeat. But you can even test it. Like you could just test this in the Timebolt viewer. You don't have to like preview it in Premiere Pro. You can even preview. I'm pretty sure it has the same effect in the Timebolt preview. So you can just play through once you do these settings. You can just play through Timebolt, just have a quick listen if everything sounds right. But it's not that big a deal. I just noticed it right now because we played the video.
So if I do this after, I should do that. I shouldn't do this after the fact. Like,
correct. So you should listen to it in Timebolt. Just listen to everything. If everything is sounding correct, maybe the first 2-3 minutes. Multiple speakers. Every speaker you should like verify whether all the cuts are correct, because if 1 or 2 cuts are correct, they all are going to be correct. So
Yeah.
got it.
just verify that everything is there. I just noticed because we played it in Premiere Pro. If we would have played it in Timebolt, I would have noticed earlier. But
Sure.
just notice the start of their sentences, because that is the most important point. The start of the sentences determines what the left padding is going to be.
Got it. And if it sounds too choppy, cutting them off even just slightly,
Yeah.
that's
correct.
when you increase that padding on the left.
Correct. And don't
to-
increase it too much. The max value should be about 0.075, 0.0, like 0.1 maximum. Anything beyond that, it will seem very slow. Like the whole video will become slow. I always like to describe this as more of an artistic choice. There are some videos where you want the vibe to be like chill. If you want a chill
Yeah.
vibe, you can increase the left padding. If you want like an enthusiastic vibe where the speaker is really punchy, you can have like a smaller value. So it depends on the vibe and like the accuracy. So it just depends on the speaker. It's not a hard and fast rule. Doug likes the 0.01 because he's like an enthusiastic speaker. He likes the punching effects.
Yeah.
I'm a more chilled speaker, so for me, a little wind up. And it's an artistic choice. But let's go back to Premiere Pro. Let's just finish this video so that you at least know what to do next. So the next step is to unlink all of them. So you do Command A, right click, unlink, then you select the video tracks, all of them. Then you do a right click, and then I think there's a multicam option. Nest. Next is the nest option. And then you just name it something like multicam sequence or something like that. And then you will right click on it. And then I think there should be an enable, multicam enable. So now this is a multicam sequence. So then you can switch between them by, I think 1 and 2 is, so you can switch between them. Just like play through and then switch between them whenever you want. Yeah.
And anytime I switch the keys, it'll just make the cut.
Correct.
And then I can obviously like manually adjust the cut.
The video is like the same video twice, but check this out. I play the video.
You're in the nested sequence right now? Or is that the multicam?
Oh, that is the, enable. So if I play this, so it doesn't show the cut right now and it doesn't pause either.
Oh, when you're clicking, so you literally have to use the mouse.
I can do 1 and 2 too. I'm doing 1 and 2.
Oh, and it's not pausing.
But when I pause, it does make the cuts.
Nice. Well, that's exactly what we want.
On the timeline that you were demonstrating, that didn't have the audio clips nested into the video also,
No,
right?
it
Like you
didn't.
kept the audio
No.
separate. Okay.
I can show it to you right now. It's exactly like the one we had. Cuts made, the cuts on the audio, and then the timeline. Yeah. It doesn't require, like the multicam is separate from this. It doesn't have to be the same.
Cool. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it.